So I'm like, family, it's your brother Landon X. This is Nation Town TV Live. And as you can see in the caption, we are dealing with why the battle in the sky matters on the ground. You probably or should have got yourself a copy of the #1 news not controlled by the Jews from last week. This is the Final Call newspaper, and as you can see, it says battle in the sky is near. But the reason why that is that was the topic of last week's issue, it is technically the most current because the newest issue is coming out right now, is because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his teachings on the wheel have been absolutely vindicated. But we're going to talk about what that means down here on the ground, because some of us know what it may mean for the sky, what it may mean for the enemy, but what does it mean for us? We're going to get into it. Let's get it.
Rio.
And we back, Nation Town TV Live, and of course I'm your brother Landon X. And today we have a topic that we're going to get into. I actually thought about it and I realized that I don't believe we've ever done a Nation Town TV episode strictly dealing on the wheel, which is an important aspect of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And as the title suggests, why the battle in the sky matters on the ground. Because whenever this topic comes up, the wheel, as we know it in the Nation of Islam, or so-called unidentified flying objects, and that whole dynamic, we kind of take off. We kind of, either goes over our heads as individuals, or we go over our own heads. So we're going to bring it down to earth and talk about why it matters to us in this day and age, in this hour, here with both feet on the ground. But we're going to get into that. Let me start off in the proper fashion. Shout out to everybody chiming in. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who mercifully appeared in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians. And check this out, the Mahdi of the Muslims. We're going to talk about that in a minute real quick. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, but let me be very clear that when I say that Muhammad is his messenger, I'm saying that with all due love, respect, admiration, and gratitude to all of the prophets and messengers of Allah, from Abraham to Lot to Moses, even to Jesus. Muslims love us some Jesus, please believe. However, the Holy Quran says that certainly a messenger would be raised for every nation, certainly, in Surah 16 and 36, and Surah 10 and 47, and in 44 and 5, it says that we are ever, God speaking, describing himself with the word we, that personal pronoun, we are ever sending messengers. So when I say that Muhammad is his messenger, I'm speaking of none other than the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, who at minimum is the messenger of Allah, but in fact, the exalted Christ. And I would know nothing of these two powerful, powerful men if it were not for the divine leadership, teaching, and guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And those three great names, I greet the Nation Town family in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. Shout out to everybody chiming in. We're going to jump right into this, jump right in and jump right out. So hold on. This is we gonna go there a little bit. We're going to go there because I thought about it. I was like, man, we've been doing Nation Town TV for what, 3-4 years, and we've touched on almost every topic. We touched on almost every aspect of the teachings, but never really on the wheel. I can't tell you why, because please believe, I 100% believe in every aspect of our teachings, particularly the wheel. In fact, the teaching on the wheel is one of the aspects of the teaching that I had no problem grasping as I came into this teaching. Some people struggle with that part. Some people struggle with everything. They struggle with one part in particular with any and every school of thought that they come into. There's always that one or two things that you kind of struggle with, that you really need a little bit of a push. But that wasn't the case for me with the wheel. It's just that we never quite dealt with it on Nation Town TV Live. Nation Town has dealt with it. We posted a few videos on the topic. But as far as Nation Town TV Live, where we actually dealt with a topic that concerns it. But shout out to everybody chiming in. Keep in mind, this is, of course, Nation Town TV Live. Looks like we got a still screen. Let me bring this back up, family. 1 second. All praises due to Allah. But of course, shout out to everybody chiming in. Get this screen fixed real quick. All praises are due to Allah. All praises are due to Allah. But shout out to everybody chiming in. We see you. We love you. As soon as I get this screen taken care of, we're going to get back. There we go. All praises are due to Allah. Shout out, if you can hear me, make sure that, you know, all the audio is up and going. Once all praises due to Allah. So we back on. Everything's ready to go. We're gonna get right into it. Again, shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you, Brother Jerome. I see you, Sister Rose. Muhammad Khalik, wa alaikum salam. Make sure y'all hit us up with your questions and comments. We are going to delve into this topic pretty swiftly. So like I said, hold on. I don't want to say hold on to your horses. I don't know if you own any horses, but we're going to get right into it. But here's the motivation for this topic, but as well as the most recent copy of the Final Call newspaper. The battle in the sky is near. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been teaching on that for close to 80 plus years. In fact, his teaching on it got him in trouble with the federal government. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But it was particularly the topic of this most recent Final Call news editorial because of the fact that the messenger, not as if we needed him to be, not a real Muslim, not a real believer, but we didn't need any vindication from the enemy, but he was indeed vindicated. As you can see right here, it says government officials admit that UFOs, so-called UFOs as they call them, are indeed real. Ex-military members fear national security threat. These new government admissions bear witness to the reality of the mother plane taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. What are they talking about? Well, as you saw, or you should have seen in the article, if you don't have this copy or any copy of the Final Call, man, get your life together. You know we in the streets. You see us. If you can't find us, take yourself to finalcall.com and get your copy. But definitely get it from a brother when you see us out there. As you can see, it says, for decades, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, patriarch of the Nation of Islam, taught on the mother plane and the prophesied battle in the sky. The vision of Ezekiel's wheel in the sky is true if carefully understood, Mr. Muhammad wrote in his seminal book, Message to the Black Man. This mother plane or wheel is a half mile by a half mile in size and contains 1,500 smaller wheels, also known as bomber planes. Now, many of you should or do know about the teaching as it pertains to the wheel. But what we're going to talk about in particular today, we're going to bring it down to the ground, bring it down to earth. Because what does that mean in this hour for all of us? Not just because the wheel is not a mechanism that's just for the believers. And I'm going to kind of deal with some of the misconceptions that even some of us as believers have about it. I'm no expert. I just know what I know. But there are some misconceptions that believers have. There are some misconceptions that what we call the 85% have. But we're going to touch on it real quick and real fast and to the point. But the first thing I want to deal with, shout out to everybody chiming in. Shout out to everybody chiming in. All praises due to Allah. Again, this is Nationtown TV Live, brought to you by NationtownStore.com. And make sure y'all hit us up on Cash App, $Nationtown, $Nationtown. Indeed, show us some love, whatever you want to show, a love offering. And keep in mind that on NationtownStore.com, you can hit that for a limited time. You can hit that coupon code BuyBlack2021 for the coupon code of the week, and you'll get a discount on all products and all orders on NationtownStore.com. If you have not already, make sure you subscribe to Nationtown TV on YouTube. Make sure you knock that out. So now we got the bills paid. Let's go ahead and get into it. Shout out to everybody chiming in. Appreciate that information, brother Muhammad. He says it just went out. All praises due to Allah. Brother Darren, all praises due to Allah. Keep up the great work, man. Appreciate it, black man. Appreciate it. But let's get to it. Let's get to it, because I do not intend to be long. But if it be the will of Allah, I do intend to be strong. When it comes to the wheel itself, as the enemy talks about it, he calls it unidentified flying objects. But when it comes to the wheel, here's the thing that's fascinating about it for me. It's so fascinating. This is the one thing, not just in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but it's really one of the phenomenons, one of the things that no matter what you claim to believe or what school of thought you claim to be from, the teachings of, I can't say extraterrestrial, but just terrestrial phenomenon or flying objects or any type of higher understanding of engineering and planes, that can be found in every school of thought. There are some things you can find in Islam that you can't really find in Christianity. Find it in Christianity, can't find it in Islam. Find it in so-called atheism and can't find it in religion at all. Other religions, I should say, at all. Because atheism is religion, so it's smoking crack, smoking cigarettes, smoking weed, women, food. But we ain't gonna get into that. That's a topic for another day. But with this phenomenon, this can be found in every school of thought. And I'm going to touch on the big three. The big three is Christianity and the Bible, Islam and the Holy Quran and Hadith. But then, like I said, those who consider themselves not religious at all, which is a phenomenon in itself these days. Everybody, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. In other words, every now and then I pray, but I don't want to live by no real rules or restrictions. That's what that really means. But no matter what you claim you believe, this teaching can be found right dead in the center of what you claim that you believe. What do I mean? I'm going to start off with the Bible. First of all, as we mentioned in that, what I just read and what you see right there, it mentions Ezekiel's will in the book of Ezekiel in the 10th chapter. That's why in the Nation of Islam, we call the Bible the poison book, not as a diss. We call it poison just like Tylenol is poison. Cocaine is poison. Adderall is poison. Everything that's used to not only murder but also medicate is poison. And with the Bible, if you're not reading it correctly, you taking the improper dosage of it, you can overdose, or you can not take enough of it at all and then die from all of the ills that could have been saved by a proper understanding of the Bible. So that's why Master Fard Muhammad called it the poison book in our lessons. But let's go into the Bible first and foremost. This is from the book of Ezekiel, chapter 10. This is when Ezekiel, who is described as the Son of Man in the Bible, where he describes what he sees. It says, "And when I looked, behold, the 4 wheels by the cherubims, one wheel by one cherub, and another wheel by another cherub. And the appearance of the wheels was as the color," remember this is a key point, we're going to get back to this, "was the color of a beryl stone." A beryl stone. Remember that key word. "And as for their appearances, they 4 had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel." Midst meaning in the middle of a wheel. And then that's not the only place. In the book of Exodus, it says, "And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them away, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night." That's in the book of Exodus. So there it is in your Bible. A cloud by day, a pillar of fire by night. I remember there was a movie, and we're going to talk about movies a little bit too. There was a movie called Fire in the Sky, this white boy who said that he was abducted by aliens. He said he looked up and he saw a fire in the sky right before he was abducted. Okay. All right. Now, like I said, I'm not here to try to convince you if you don't already believe in this phenomenon. I'm just going to tell you that it can be found in every school of thought. Let's go to Islam now. And Islam is where it gets even more interesting. In Islam, there is a teaching that is described as the night journey, a Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It's called Al-Miraj and also Al-Isra. But in this night journey, Prophet Muhammad is traveling from the holy city of Mecca on the Hijrah to Jerusalem. But he gets a ride. Now, in Hadith and in the basic understanding, because the Quran, you got to be able to understand it too. It's not the Quran, the Holy Quran, the book of the Muslims, does not have the poetic language that the Bible has. It is a beautifully read. It's a beautiful read, but it's not as poetic as the Bible, but you still have to understand what you read. But those who have a very slim understanding, they believe, and I'm talking about Muslims in Islam all over the world, they believe Prophet Muhammad, and I'm not making mockery, they believe Prophet Muhammad just got on a camel and took off. They believe. Now, I didn't say what the Quran says. I didn't say what even the Hadith said, but they believe that he just simply got on a camel and took off. Now, keep in mind, 1400 years ago, which was the time of Prophet Muhammad, the camel was equivalent to a car. The Arabs, even though some say Egyptians have found the ability to fly thousands of years ago, the Arabs 1400 years ago did not have anything that was equivalent to an airplane. The camel or the caravan was equivalent to a car or a bus or a train. So when they see, if you saw somebody moving fast in an object today, you would immediately think a few things because of what we see on a daily basis. You would think either a plane, helicopter, or automobile. In fact, we're going to see some snippets of some videos of actual people, not Muslims, not in the Nation of Islam, seeing the same bomber planes in the sky on the same night. And you'll hear many of them say, that's not a helicopter, that's not a plane. What is it? Because those are the only things that we see today that we know we can travel at a rapid speed in. The military officials who have admitted that UFOs are a reality. That's why this is a hot topic, because for the first time, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, if you asked a military official, a sitting military official about UFOs, he would change the subject. Even Area 51 was half rumor, half fact. You know, it was like truth and falsehood. Area 51 exists, but does it have what people believe it has? They would keep it quiet. And I respect it. I love that about the white man's military. They know how to keep things quiet. Black folks, we need to take some notes on that. But anyway, they kept it quiet. But now they're finally saying not only is it a reality, but it might even be a national security threat. You think? So, with the night journey of Prophet Muhammad, many of the hadiths describe him as getting on an object. He mounts on an object and takes off. Now, at that time, the only thing you mounted and took off on was either a horse or a camel. So it was passed down over the wheel of time the last 1400 years as Prophet Muhammad got on a camel and took off. That sounds absurd, doesn't it? But let's look at what the scripture actually says. Let's look at an account and an understanding of the scripture, and then we're going to come back to something. With Jibril as his companion, the prophet sets off on the Barak, which is a sort of a camel, at phenomenal speed to Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem, where he finds Abraham. Check this out. He finds Abraham, Moses, and Jesus among a company of the prophets assembled and waiting for him. The call to prayer is then made, and the prophet is invited to lead them in prayer. This part of the journey, the Isra, represents the prophet's horizontal journey across the visible, listen, the visible physical world. It is distinct from the mirage and serves as a prelude to it. Those of you who have a copy of the Holy Quran, I would direct you to Surah 53, Al-Najm, which is the star. Read like the first 18 ayahs, the first 18 verses of that. It talks about the night journey in certain terms. I'm gonna actually give it a read right now. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you. Hit us up with your questions and comments. We won't be on long. We do intend to be on strong. I just gotta bust up some of the, some of the foolishness that's out there. It's definitely not in the Quran, but it's out there. But here's what the Quran says. Chapter 53, Al-Najm, the star, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. By the star when it sets, your companion errs not, nor does he deviate, nor does he speak out of desire. See, it's trying to tell you that, listen, man, your companion, the Holy Prophet, he ain't lying to you. He's not trying to make something big out of himself. It is not but revelation that is revealed. One mighty in power has taught him, the Lord of strength, so he attained to perfection. And he is in the highest part of the horizon. I'm going to say that again, the highest part of the horizon. Keep your feet on the ground now. Keep your feet on the ground. And by feet, I mean your mind. Then he drew nearer yet. So he was the measure of two bowls, or closer still. So he revealed to his servant what he revealed. The heart was not untrue in seeing what he saw. In other words, he know what he saw. Do you then dispute with him as to what he saw? And certainly he saw him in another descent, at the farthest lote tree. Near it is the garden of a bowl. When that which covered the lote tree, the eye turned not aside, nor did it exceed the limit. Certainly he saw the greatest signs of the Lord. So this is the equivalent of the wheel, or the equivalent of high-tech travel, however you want to put it, in the Quran. But not only that, we still dealing with Islam. We already knocked out Christianity in the Bible. We're going to get into something that's recent with Islam as it pertains to the wheel, and very specific. But shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you. I see you. All praises due to Allah. Brother Muhammad says, good teaching. All praises due to Allah. Minerva White, not receiving a true understanding. That's right. All praises due to Allah. Brother Alonzo Williams, he's tagging people. All praises due to Allah. Make sure that we're sharing this, putting this information out here. Get this message out here. I'm being shadow banned on Nation Town TV. I found out officially in the last couple of weeks, and what shadow ban means, they're trying to restrict who can see it, who can see when I post. On my personal page, I have close to 5,000 followers. On Nation Town, I have almost 8,000 followers, but when I post, they make sure only like 40 to 50 people can actually see it. So unless people get out there and share it and share it and share it. So make sure y'all sharing this out there to the people. Now, we still on Islam. I covered how the Bible talks about the wheel as it's taught in the Nation of Islam. Now we on the Quran and the night journey, but I'm going to go further than that. And I'm going to come home. I'm going to come to modern times, right down to the modern times. There is an individual in the world today who is one of the most powerful Muslims in the world. I'm not talking about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who definitely fits that description, but I'm talking about somebody who y'all might consider, those of you who do not follow the teachings, you judge you judge Christians and Muslims just like you judge superheroes. by the costume they got on. So when y'all see the Arabs with the beards and all of that and the jalabiyas and all of that, you think, oh, those are real Muslims. Primarily because they're Arabs. They're white Arabs. But there is a Arab who is one of the most powerful Muslim Arabs in the world. In fact, he is powerful in a nation that, other than the Nation of Islam, is the closest thing that exists in this world to what's known as a theocracy. A theocracy is a government that's ran not by, a certain political party or political ideology, but ran by the understanding of God that those people have. And the closest thing to a theocracy in the world today is none other than the nation of, or the Republic of, I believe is considered, of Iran. Some people pronounce it Iran. But in Iran, which is a predominantly Shiite or Shia Muslim nation, they are a nation. It's not Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is what you think of when you think of Arab nations, but Saudi Arabia is extremely secular and becoming more secular by the day, meaning, it's not really operating under the rules of Islam. Iran used to be secular until the actual Orthodox overtook the Shah and brought it back to a theocracy, to the behest and the chagrin of America and all of the Western nations. That happened in the 1970s, and beautifully it started based on a tape, based on communication, just like you listening right now. The Ayatollah at that time communicated to the people of Iran who wanted to see Iran become a theocracy again. He communicated to them, and that started a revolution. And they did it by passing out tapes. So be careful when you think that communication with technology is not useful. But in Iran right now, they have what's called a Grand Ayatollah. A Grand Ayatollah is one of the most respected Muslims in the Muslim world, regardless of what sect or party that you represent. Everybody respects the Grand Ayatollah. What you're looking at right here is the current Grand Ayatollah Nazir. Why am I bringing him up? This brother is a friend of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's that tall brother standing in the middle right there next to the minister. The minister is actually friendly with the entire government of Iran. And the minister has, the minister probably can't even remember the last time he walked in a room and didn't teach. When you're as wise as the minister is, every room he walks into, he's teaching. Even if he's not verbally teaching, just a man that wise and that accomplished, he teaches just with his movements and what he does and doesn't do. So spending all this time with the Iranian officials, that they've learned from him. The minister's a student too. He'll learn from others. But you better believe they learned from him. In fact, I have proof that they learned from him. I'm going to just show you a headline real quick. Remember, the Grand Ayatollah, one of the most powerful and most respected Muslims in the world. There's a Christian website among many called the Christian Examiner, who was the first to report what I'm about to show you. Now it's all over the internet. It happened about 5 years ago. It was made public about 5 years ago. But the Christian Examiner, which is a respected Christian publication, printed this. Muslim cleric like Louis Farrakhan says Messiah or Mahdi returning on a machine like a spaceship. You can Google this for yourself. Just use a few keywords: Ayatollah, spaceship, Mahdi. You spell Mahdi M-A-H-D-I. They use the word Messiah because that's the closest equivalent in Christianity to the Mahdi. Now remember what I said when we opened up today. I said Master Fard Muhammad, God in person, the Messiah of the Christians, long awaited, and the Mahdi of the Muslims. Now the interesting thing about the Iranian government and the Ayatollahs is that they are a part of something that the world calls the 12ers, like the number 12, 12ers. Because in the Shiite understanding of Islam, the 12ers hold a significance because they believe in something called the hidden Imam, which is also translated to Mahdi. And the interesting thing about the 12ers is, of course, in the Muslim program, in the back of every Final Call newspaper and every Muhammad Speaks newspaper before it, point number 12 clearly states what we believe, that God came in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, July 1930, the long-awaited Messiah of the Christians and the Mahdi of the Muslims. But hold on. Let's see what the Christian Examiner actually said. Tehran, which is the capital of Iran. Shiite Muslims awaiting the return of the Mahdi, a messianic figure, can expect to see him return in a spaceship of sorts. Iran's Grand Ayatollah Nasser Makarim Shirazi said in a recent interview about the apocalyptic figure. According to the Middle East Media Research Institute, MEMRI, Shirazi said, the figure's arrival will not be like in the olden days of Islam with a sword. Nay, it will instead be high-tech as befits the modern age, or as we say in our lessons, the modern time. I want y'all to Google that for yourself. I don't want you to just go off of Nation Time. There's several articles on this, and nobody talked about it. Nobody talked about it. And when you see the Caucasian, because he always loves the opportunity to ridicule and make fun of people and make them seem like they're crazy. But when it's something that seems like he could easily play that game and he doesn't, you should look again. Because that means he knows that if he tries to play that game, there may be something that might prove him wrong in the worst way. But they held this from you. This was not on your timeline on Facebook. This was not on CNN. But he goes further to say, in Shiite Islam, the Mahdi, also called the hidden Imam, because they believe he was born but disappeared. Interesting. Interesting. Remember, Master Fard Muhammad made himself known in July 1930. But once he found, and I do mean found, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he actually left from among us in 1934. So once he found what he was looking for, he disappeared. In fact, if you go to the Freedom of Information Act and look up the COINTELPRO documents where they're actually looking for Master Fard Muhammad to try to disprove who he says he is, even the FBI concluded that they could not find a trace of this man. But let me go back to the article. Because they believe he was born but disappeared, will return to cleanse the world of all evil in preparation for the final day of judgment. Shiites believe the Mahdi will be assisted in battling against a false Messiah by Jesus. Now, this is interesting too, to my Christian family. I don't know who told you that Muslims don't believe in Jesus. Not only do we believe in Jesus, but we believe that when the Mahdi returns, this is a universal Islamic teaching, that when the Mahdi returns, he will have Jesus by his side. Interesting. Interesting that we can't walk together as Muslims and Christians today, but the Muslims believe Go ask a Jew what he thinks about Jesus. I'm gonna leave that at that. When it moves, this is the Grand Ayatollah speaking. When it moves, it slashes the heart of the sky with extraordinary force. And in this way, it can advance to any point in the firmament. Therefore, this is a super modern vessel, and there is none like it today. It is like a spaceship, and like other swift and amazing space vessels that are found only in stories today. But nobody knows how close these vessels come to truth and reality. I just want that to sink in for a hot minute. Because I wasn't just reading the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I mean, I was, but I wasn't. That was the Grand Ayatollah, the sitting Grand Ayatollah. Let me put this. Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has been all over the Muslim world, and he's been respected and adored all over the Muslim world. But the Grand Ayatollah, despite the differences between different sects and parties, now the Sunnis don't see him in the same light as the Shias do, but they do respect him. I'm talking about the Grand Ayatollah. This is a Muslim who is respected anywhere in the world where Islam and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is respected. But after this, y'all gonna have to pardon me if I'm getting a little excited. Like I said, it's the first time Nation Town TV Live, really dealt with this topic. But we had to deal with it like Nation Town deals with it. After sitting down with that man, you know what man I'm talking about. That's the Iranian flag in the middle. That's the Grand Ayatollah over there to the right. After chopping it up with this man, suddenly they talking like this. Suddenly, they talking like this. When it moves, it slashes the heart of the sky with extraordinary force. I mean, that sounds like something out of Fall of America, something out of Muhammad Speaks, something out of the Theology of Time lecture by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This is the Grand Ayatollah. Look him up. The name itself, Ayatollah, means an exalted authority figure in Islam. Hey man, take it for what it is. Remember, I wanted to cover how not only Christianity but Islam bears witness, and this is a modern day version or example of it bearing witness to the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But not only that, and we all know how non-religious people feel about things like UFOs and that kind of thing. We know they believe in that because most non-religious people, especially so-called atheists, they take the so-called the science role. I don't know who told people that you either have to believe in God or science. That's like saying you can only believe in an architect or a blueprint. You can't believe in both. See how silly that sounds? I can't believe in a blueprint and believe in the person that wrote the blueprint and designed the blueprint. Or I can't believe in an architect, I can't believe in a blueprint, but I can believe in a construction worker. But the construction worker is going off a blueprint that was actually designed by the architect. All of these things come together. That's why we're taught in the Nation of Islam that Islam is everything. All knowledge is Islam, because the real understanding of God is in taking everything that is of natural descent and studying it. And that'll take you to God. It was the human being, the deviated human being, that made everything about dogma and spookiness and all that kind of foolishness. That's what I love about the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But here's an article I want to show you real quick. We ain't going to spend a whole lot of time on it. There's an article in I hope y'all can see that. You probably can't see it that well. But the humanist.com. Humanists are basically atheists. They don't believe in any religion or anything of that nature. They just believe in humans. But in this article, they're talking about UFOs and how if we learn more about UFOs, that will be the death of religion as we know it. And it probably will, as far as the way religion is digested by the typical human being today. So that proves how the atheists see. But I don't think I even had to explain that, because atheists, they love going to go see Star Wars and all these Hollywood alien movies, and they always lean on science, and they call it in Hollywood what? Science fiction. But atheists really believe that science is the end all and be all of creation. And it is, but it's the blueprint of God. Now let's move along. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you. All praises due to Allah. All praises due to Allah. I see you, Brother Muhammad. Islam is mathematics, and mathematics is Islam. It stands true. It can always be proven in no limit of time, and that's what I intend to do. All praises due to Allah. Let's get to it. Let's get to it, because I want to knock this out real quick. Now, like I said, the title or the subject of this episode is simply why the battle in the sky matters on the ground. Now, there's something else I want to bring up. I want you to do your research on the Battle of Los Angeles. I ain't talking about Rodney King and the LAPD. I ain't talking about Crips and Bloods. The Battle of Los Angeles on February 25th. Interesting date. About a day short, but close enough. On February 25th, 1942, an infamous false alarm saw American military units unleash a torrent of anti-aircraft fire in the skies over Los Angeles. A lot of rumors about this, but it actually happened. But it's rumors as to what they were trying to shoot in the sky. Some say it was Japanese aircraft, but the Japanese have come out and said many years ago, we didn't, it wasn't us. They've already bear witness and admitted that Pearl Harbor was them. They was like, hell, if it was us, we would tell you, especially considering the fact that there were no Japanese aircrafts that crashed to the ground. So Japan ain't no punk. If they did it, they would say that they did it. But they've already admitted years ago, we didn't have nothing to do with that. We don't know what y'all was shooting at. That's between y'all and whatever y'all had hovering over y'all head. The Battle of the Sky was actually what they call a UFO sighting. And they didn't know what the hell they was looking at, so they attacked it. And this sent the alphabet boys, the government, into an absolute tailspin. Because this Caucasian gets very nervous when his superiority is challenged. Just like anybody who tries to be a bully, who tries to control a thing. If anybody seems like they might be more powerful, read your Bible. Go into your poison book. Look at how Pharaoh saw the little boy babies of Egypt. Look at how the king, even in the days of Jesus, Herod, when he knew that there was a Messiah being born, what did he do? What did he say? He just say, well, I deal with him when I see him. No, he immediately went to action trying to prevent the rise of a black Messiah. Man, all praises due to Allah. Now check this out. Right after, I want you to see that date again. Right after the Battle of Los Angeles, where you had these Caucasians just shooting at the sky, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a month later, was arrested on March 8th, I believe, 1942. Now, what they put on the paperwork is that he was arrested for not registering for the draft, but he was already in his 40s and he was too old for the draft, so that didn't fly. But how did they get away with that? But that's the thing. We don't question the Caucasian. You'll question me. Some of y'all, especially on YouTube, y'all gonna watch this and have a whole lot to say. That's understood. But won't you keep that same energy with your enemy? We don't question him. Nobody outside of the Nation of Islam says, wait a minute, how did they get away with arresting a man for dodging the draft or not registering for the draft when he was too old to even be in the draft. That's because that's just what they put on the paperwork. They couldn't put on the paperwork that we believe this man knows something about so-called UFOs, because what they did is they raided the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's home. And when they raided the messenger's home, they came up on information like this. What you see over there to the left is a diagram, a sketch, a thumbnail sketch of that wheel within a wheel, that city in the sky. What you see on the right is also a diagram. These are the kind of things, as well as the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that were given to him from Master Fard Muhammad. They said, we got to take this man. We got to take him off the streets. He was in prison for 7 years. After the Battle of Los Angeles, they had no other motivation but this right here, to arrest the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. There was no other political figure, religious figure, or any type of leader, black, white, red, or yellow, that was questioned or arrested in connection to the Battle of Los Angeles other than the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But remember, the title of this topic, why the battle in the sky matters on the ground. Because I gotta say, family, and this is no diss. I love not only the registered members of the Nation of Islam, but I got a special place in my heart for even the sympathizers, those who are not registered members of the Nation of Islam, but they believe in the teachings, and they have the utmost respect for the messenger and the minister, because I was in that category. I was a sympathizer for years. But let's talk about what the will is and is not. Sometimes you hear people talk about the will as if it's the Muslim version of heaven. I've heard registered Muslims and just sympathizers, and sometimes they're talking about it in jest, but like it's our version of heaven. It is not. Some of us talk about it and we get so giddy and excited, as if the will is something that's coming to take us and pick us up and save us from this world. But as it's taught by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the will has one particular function. It has many functions, but one in particular when it comes to earth. Remember, this is about what it means on the ground. It is a mechanism of absolute destruction. Let's see what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, so you won't think it's just your brother talking. This is the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where he says the bombs are equipped with motors, and the toughest of steel was used in making them. This steel drills and takes the bombs into the earth at a depth of 1 mile, and is timed not to explode until it reaches 1 mile into the earth. Now, this was a technological aspect that was stolen by the Caucasian, because there are bombs now being dropped over the Middle East by the Caucasian that just came out in the Caucasian's world that does this exact same thing. But this was written in the 40s and 50s. Let me keep going. This explosion produces a mountain 1 mile high. Not one bomb will fall into water. Not one. They will all fall on cities. As Ezekiel saw and heard in his vision in chapter 10, the plane is terrible. I'm going to say that again, family. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the plane is terrible. Terrible. It is seen, but do not think of trying to attack it. That would be suicide. So this mother plane, it's 1,500 bomber planes, each equipped with 3 bombs. That's all it needs is 3 on each of the 1,500 bomber planes. That's another thing I hear from believers. We often call it baby planes. There's nothing wrong with that. because they are smaller versions of the mother wheel. And if we call the wheel the mother, then it's natural to call it baby. But don't forget the function. It is a bomber plane. Just want to be very clear about that. Want to be very clear. Now, I want to give a personal account. Remember, I told you I was a sympathizer for many years. And the tipping point for me, any believer in the Nation of Islam who used to be a sympathizer and then became a registered member, they'll be able to tell you the tipping point. In fact, every registered member of the Nation of Islam can tell you a tipping point where they realize, I need to become a registered Muslim. Now, even those who are so-called born in the nation, they still have to get registered. You don't have to be in the nation just because your mama and daddy is. By the age of 16, you have the right to get registered or not get registered. So we all got a tipping point where we just made a conscious decision that it was time to step in. For me, the overall tipping point was around 2014, 2015. And it culminated with what we know as 10-10-15, which was the 20-year anniversary of the Million Man March, which I attended. About 1 million people on the Mall of Washington. You had your natives, you had Hispanics out there, majority black from all backgrounds. The Moors were out there, Hebrew Israelites were out there. Everybody was out there, beautiful. And I just said to myself, at that point, I couldn't just keep playing Muslim. I knew the teachers. I don't like to say I knew the teachers. To this day, I don't like saying that. But I read the teachers, studied the teachers. But at that point, I knew that it was time for me to get suited and booted. So on my way home, back to Los Angeles on the plane, I took a lot of photographs, as we do when we go to anywhere, especially something that's as historic as the 20-year anniversary. I took a bunch of photographs. And I took several photographs. iPhone has a feature, I forgot what they call it, but it takes like quick, like 50 pictures in a second. I forgot what they call it. Some of y'all can help me out on that. But it just takes them real quick. And I did it like by accident. I wasn't even trying to do it. But I took all kind of pictures. So on my plane ride back, I'm looking at my pictures. Mind you, I didn't see what I'm about to tell you as I was taking the pictures. I was mesmerized by the environment and by the minister as he talked. But as I took these pictures early that morning on that Saturday, the 10th of October, 2015, on the way back home, that Sunday or that Monday, I'm overlooking my pictures. And I'm going to show you those photographs. Well, here's the first photograph, just to give you a little bit of context. And plus, I made sure that I put the time stamp at the top. October 10th, 2015. Now, it says 4:53 a.m. That's because it's on California time. But the actual time was 7:53 a.m. That was the time in Washington, D.C., because they're 3 hours ahead of California. But pay attention to that. 4:53 a.m., 10-10-15. Take a good look at the picture. Now, here's another picture. Remember, it took 1,000 pictures instantly. And I was mad when I first saw that because I was like, man, I wasn't even trying to do that. Now, what you see over there at the top left, if you can see over there, there's a little black dot. That's not what I'm talking about. If you see it, it's over toward the top. You see the Capitol building, and to the left of that, you see a black dot. That's actually a bird or something. And this is the other picture. Keep an eye on the time at the top. Here's another picture. Keep an eye on the time. Now it says 4:54, just a minute later. It took like 100 of these pictures. But these are just the ones I pulled out. Now you can see that black dot over there on the left even clearer, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's a bird. That's a bird. But then there was this. It still says 4:54 at the top. But if you look over there to the left, there's a particular thing that has a greenish hue to it. And before I go any further, I want to take you back to the book of Ezekiel. It said, and the appearance of the wheel was as the color of a beryl stone. A beryl stone. Brother Landon, what is a beryl stone? Let me give you an example of a beryl stone. These are examples of beryl stone. What's the dominant color hue that you see in all of these different beryl stones? A light greenish hue. That's a beryl stone. And then what do you see over there to the left? Let me help you out in case you're struggling. You know, some of y'all getting old. Let me put that red arrow on it. Now, mind you, I saw this after the pictures were taken. I didn't see it as I wasn't trying to see nothing in the sky. I was just taking a picture of the ambiance. This was just as the sun was coming up early that Saturday morning. And it was already a good, I want to say, 100,000 people out there waiting. Now, I'm going to go a little further. Now, this was, I can't officially say my first time seeing a wheel, because I didn't actually see it. I took a picture of it, but didn't see it. Remember what the Grand Ayatollah said, not the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He said it too. But the Grand Ayatollah, some of y'all want to call them real Muslims. Here's what the real Muslim said. He said it can advance to any point in the firmament. Firmament means the sky. Therefore, this is a super modern vessel and there is none like it today. It slashes the heart of the sky with extraordinary force, and in this way, it can advance to any point in the firmament. Remember, I told you, as I took the pictures, I didn't even see what the iPhone saw. The iPhone saw something that I didn't even catch. But I want to give you something a little bit more, a little bit nearer in time. On the 4th of July last year, 2020, we were blessed with a beautiful message from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And in his message, and I'm going to close out this video with a video of the minister saying this, but in this message, he told everybody that watched it, millions of people watched this message, the criterion. He told them that you will see the wheels because he called them out. These are his words. Now, that particular night, as an FOI, I had a particular detail, an assignment as a FOI that we do here in Los Angeles and we do in all cities. And a part of this assignment required me to be outside in my car late at night. It was actually just past midnight. And the other brother that I was on this detail with, he pointed something out in the sky. So I took a look. And now, for the first time, I saw with my eyes what my iPhone saw at 10:10:15. And I have the video of it. Let me show you. Assalamualaikum, family. I just got to point something out. I'm going to zoom in a little bit right here. There's nothing else in the sky tonight here in Los Angeles. And as some of you may know, Los Angeles is notorious for smog, so it's almost impossible. You ever heard that Nipsey Hussle lyric where he said that, you know, he said something to the effect that, you know, we look up in the sky and we don't see the stars. So in LA, you don't see stars, but you can see a bomber plane, also known as a baby plane. I'm gonna go around, you don't see nothing else in the sky. That right there is just a street light. Nothing else going on in the sky. I just happen to be outside. It's about 5 in the morning. And it's just sitting there, just watching like it's watching me, which is interesting. I can't really get into what I'm doing. I ain't doing nothing illegal. I'm actually doing nation business. And I just feel like, wow. It's just watching. Just like the minister said that it would be. That is not a star. That is not the moon. It ain't an airplane. Because one thing about airplanes, you know, especially when you're close to the airport, they do sometimes line up so they can take their time going into, the airport. They just kind of wait in line, for their time to go in the airport. So you might see close to the airport, a line of lights, but those lights will be blinking, and it's kind of obvious when you see an airplane. This is not an airplane. It's a different kind of plane, and it's just sitting there. It's just sitting there. And it wasn't there 30 minutes ago. I looked in that exact same direction, and it was nothing there. I'm not sure how well you could hear the audio of me talking, but what I was pointing out was the fact that in LA, because of the smog, we don't get to go outside and look at the stars at night unless you live way up in the mountains or in the suburbs somewhere, because the smog covers the stars. You can't see it. Nipsey Hussle had a line in a song where he said, in LA, we can't see the stars. So I wasn't looking at a star. I wasn't looking at anything else. It wasn't an airplane. But what was very interesting is that I was not alone. Thousands of people all over the world saw exactly what I was looking at right there. And I got a video that I'm going to close out this video with that I want you to stick around and watch, of other people who are not in the Nation of Islam. You can tell by their voices, because they're doing the same thing with their phone, that they're not even black, saying what they saw. In fact, many of you don't believe the Muslims, even though we've always done right by our people. But see, the thing about Muslims, we black. And even though some might say I'm light brown skin, I'm too dark, too black for you to believe me on face value. But like our lessons say, we believe in the 10% at face value. So there's a Jewish-owned publication and network television show that you might have heard of called TMZ. And that same night they reported it. UFO reported outside of Los Angeles. As you can see the TMZ stamp right there. And then there was more mainstream news, so-called mainstream. UFOs regularly spotted in restricted U.S. airspace. Report on the phenomenon due next month. And then here's Marco Rubio, who's a Republican out of Florida, bearing witness to it. He says Rubio and others on 60 Minutes, government must stop ignoring UFO sightings. Now, this is the part before we get out of here where I got to bring it down to the ground, because there's a couple of points that I want to make. This is why this is important, but here's why you may not believe in what we're talking about tonight, or you might struggle with it. It's not a coincidence that it's almost a joke to even talk about UFOs, because that's what somebody in power who really doesn't deserve that power does. Not only do they make you to think that they are the only power in the earth, they are the smartest, they are the strongest, they are the most powerful, but then when they see somebody else come up, they either try to kill them literally and or kill the thought of them being more powerful to you by making a joke out of it, or just making entertainment, sport, and play out of it. See, there's an old law in physics, and the actual name of it is the Pauli exclusion principle, which basically means that two things cannot occupy the same place at the same time. So two people or two entities or two power structures cannot rule at the same time. They know that they made black people and all of the millions and billions of people of ethnic descent on this earth. We outnumber white people 11-1. And they know that they've convinced at least 10 out of that 11 to think that the white man is all powerful, all intelligent, and if he ain't figured it out, then it don't exist. He knows he got you, he has you thinking like that. So if you start to believe just a little bit in something that he can't figure out, remember what he calls it, unidentified. That's why he calls certain things the sixth or the seventh wonder of the world, because he wonders where it came from. He's so arrogant that he won't just flat out tell you, man, I don't even know what it is, man. I ain't read that book. But instead, he makes mockery of it. He hides it. Or he makes it a mysterious thing, a spooky thing. He spooked up religion. That's why you're so confused about religion now, because he had to take it and spook it up. Because if you really believed in a God, that means that he could no longer be your God, because two things can't occupy the same space at the same time. But follow me on this. This is that law that I was speaking of. The laws of physics says that two objects cannot occupy the same space at the same time. But you know, on Nation Town, we like to play I don't want to say devil's advocate, I'll say enemy's advocate. Because that's what we are. We become, like Brother Nuri said, we become pro bono defense attorneys for the enemy every time we're hearing knowledge coming from the Nation of Islam. Here's a question that you might be wondering if you're not buying what I'm not selling. I'm not selling you anything. I'm trying to explain to you that there's something more powerful than your open enemy, the Caucasian. But you are so in love with him that just the thought of it is laughable to you. It's not about facts, because the facts are out there. I just skimmed over the top of them. But a question you might be saying is, well, why won't God use this will to kill all the bad people in the world? I know I got ESPN. Ain't that what they call it, or ESP? I know somebody out there is thinking that, so let me deal with that just a little bit. Remember, if you disbelieve in what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches as it pertains to the will, it just means that your belief in the white man is so strong. That's really what it means. But check this out. Let's deal, because that's a fair question. If Allah, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, wields this power, because we have this Hollywood mindset, and it's not by accident. They gave us this mindset. We have this Marvel comic movie, Superman, Batman, superhero movie concept of God. I see this meme floating around the internet with, why would God give his only begotten son and then kill him, and then instead of just killing the devil? Wait. You're not asking the right question. The proper question is, why did God even make the devil in the first place? He made the devil for the same reason that your trainer, your physical trainer, takes you to a gym. You ever looked at a gym, at a fitness gym, a fitness center? Just next time you go, if you ever been before, some of y'all need to go ahead and just go, and before you start working out, look at the gym for a minute. All the ellipticals, the dumbbells, the this over there, the that over there. Look at it. What you really looking at when you break it down, you're looking at a torture chamber, man. Everything in there is meant to resist you. They actually call it resistance training, because your body gets stronger, you get faster, you get healthier by dealing with machines and things that resist you. And a good personal trainer will put you through things that you don't like, that are not fun, and then when you're done, your body's sore, you sweating, you mad, you thinking about not even showing up the next session. But those are all the things that you paid him to do that. You paid him to put you through these changes so you can get a better physique, so you can get stronger or faster or whatever it is, or healthy or whatever it is you're trying to do. That's why God made devil, so he could show forth his power. His power where? His power through you. There's something in Islam called Khalifa, which is vicegerent, means somebody who sits in the place of God. This is the same teaching that's found in the book of Genesis in the Bible that says that he made us in his image and his likeness. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth and subdue it. These are all God task that he's putting on Adam. But wait a minute, he can't just put that on some weak Negro or weak any person. He's got to make sure that you got your weight up to handle the job of being fruitful, multiplying, and replenishing the earth. You got to get your weight up to a God level. So that's one thing to consider with the idea of, well, if God got all this, then why don't he stop? Like the sister said that we talked about a couple of episodes ago, why won't he stop gang violence? Why won't he stop all these wars? Who told you that God wants to stop these wars? You look at the conflict going on in Palestine between the Palestinians and the Jewish people of so-called Israel. That hurts my heart, what I'm seeing, but it further hurts my heart because I know that in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we're taught that that area of the world will be cleansed with blood. Cleansed with blood in order to make room for a new ruler. Who's that new ruler? Go in the bathroom, look in the mirror. Now, why won't God use this will to kill all the bad people in the world? If you're watching this and you have a son or a daughter or a child and they're over the age of 12, and this is given if they don't have any physical or mental disabilities, do you still spoon feed them? Do you still breastfeed them? Do you still carry them around? Now, I do see some grown babies still in strollers, like 8 years old, feet dragging on the ground. I'm talking about 5'10" teenagers with facial hair. Do you still pick them up and burp them? Do you still feed them? How would you even look at your teenage son if he came to you and said, "Daddy, I'm hungry. Can you spoon feed me some cereal?" Because you raised him all those years from birth. You potty trained him. You taught him how to feed himself. Jesus refers to God in the Bible as Father, and that's exactly what he is. Why would he do what we have the power to do right now for us if we are to be his vicegerent or his Khalifa? See, all this time you thought you was a nigga. You thought you was just somebody baby daddy or baby mama or a crip or a blood. No, God got something bigger for you. So he can't fight our battles for us. He ordained these battles for the same reason your personal trainer will send you into that torture chamber called a gym and literally torture you until you lose some of that baby fat. Now let's keep going. We're about to close out. Shout out to everybody chiming in, because there's a couple of things I want to deal with before we get out of here real quick. Because here's the issue. Here's why this is almost a laughable topic. It's by design, because we got this. These are all kind of alien movies. Alien, I like alien movies too. Alien versus Predator, Alien this, Alien Independence Day, all this kind of stuff. You got goofy alien movies, Aliens in the Deep, Aliens. But like I said, it's that law of physics that two things can't occupy the same place at the same time. They have to make mockery and entertainment out of something that's actually more powerful than them. In fact, black people, even Hispanic Native Americans, don't play dumb, because the same thing they do on these movies when it comes to UFOs and aliens, they've been doing with you. Come on, man. You ever heard of minstrel shows? If you never met a black person and all you saw was the minstrel shows of the early days of the movie industry, what kind of preconceptions would you have about black people? You would consider us a laughable people. You would consider us a ridiculous people. If you ever seen one of us, you would think it was a joke. And please believe they still have minstrel shows. They just look a little bit different. They portray us in hip hop and in movies as these heartless beasts. Now, I like a couple of these movies. I love Boys in the Hood. May Allah be pleased with John Singleton. But they went through an era in the 90s, and they still doing it now, where they parade this image of black savagery. So the whole world, so when you travel the world, they not looking at you for the God that you are, for the king or the queen that you are. They looking at you like you old dog from Menace to Society. An old boy from Don't Be a Menace. They looking at you like a clown. This is their MO, their modus operandi. They make something a joke or entertainment, so when you actually see the real thing, you don't trust it. You don't believe it. You see this enough, you won't believe in this. I'm going to say that again. You see this enough, you won't believe in this. So before I get out of here, family, I want to point something out. Because I want to go back to that question. Because the real answer to it, I didn't quite get to. And we're going to be up out of here. And we're going to see the video that shows the other sightings that I told you I was going to show you. And I definitely want you to stick around and watch that. Why won't God use this will to kill all the bad people in the world? Speaking of movies, there's a classic scene that you see in a lot of movies. It's really overused, but it makes for such good suspense that you'll see it on at least one movie every year. You ever seen a scene on an action movie where the good guy is trying to kill the bad guy with a gun, but the bad guy grabs the damsel in distress or some innocent person and holds him and kind of hiding behind him? So the good guy can't even get a good aim because they're afraid that if they fire in the wrong way, from the wrong vantage point, they might hit the damsel in distress. They might hit this innocent person. That's another answer to that question. Why won't God use this will? Because you won't get out the way. You too close to the target, man. It comes back down to separation. And I don't just mean close geographically. This devil is all over the earth, so it ain't no running away from him in that way, but you all up in his world. You all up in his lifestyle. You don't see value in something unless it's something that he put out there and that he validated. You live in all the lifestyles that he says is okay. You dressing in all the ways that he says is okay. You learning in all the ways that he says is okay. So you all up in his world, and then you literally living up under him. So if we the people of God, and we are, we didn't put Master Fard Muhammad in a precarious situation. We're taught that at the age of 6 years old, Master Fard Muhammad saw himself pushing the Rothschilds and the DuPonts in the synagogue of Satan into the lake of fire, pushing them into the lake of fire. That's something else you see on movies sometimes, where somebody gets pushed off a cliff or pushed off a skyscraper, but then at the last second, they grab hold to the person that pushed them and drags them down with them. Right now, you holding hands with the synagogue of Satan. So it's making it hard for Master Fard Muhammad to push the enemy because you holding his hand. So you're going to go down with him, and that's not his intent. But I'm here to tell you, family, just between me and you, don't tell nobody. But Master Fard Muhammad ain't going to wait forever for you to let that hand go. So with that said, I want you to hear from somebody, a brother that I really respect when it comes to science. He's one of the most underrated scientific minds in the world. He's not religious in any way, but his understanding of science is religious if you really understand God. And that's Neil deGrasse Tyson. I saw a little excerpt of him on a news show. They were talking about UFOs, and I love what he said. And on this video, I rewound it a couple of times because I wanted to put emphasis on what he said based on what we just talked about movies and whatnot. Because he's very intelligent, but he's also very sarcastic. So you gotta check out his sarcasm as they discuss UFOs. And then after this, we're gonna close out and we're gonna see the sightings video that I wanted to show you.
But we should probably figure out the practicality of this with astrophysicist, director of the Hayden Planetarium, Neil deGrasse Tyson, rock star of science explanation.
It's real
because
it's in the movies, so it's real.
And this is his book, which is...
I saw it in The Last Jedi, but we should probably figure out the practicality of this with astrophysicist, director of the Hayden Planetarium, Neil deGrasse Tyson, rock star of science explanation.
It's real it's in the movies, so it's real.
I saw it in The Last Jedi, but we should probably figure out the practicality of this with astrophysicist, director of the Hayden Planetarium, Neil deGrasse Tyson, rock star of science explanation.
It's real it's in the movies, so it's real.
And this is his book, which is awesome, Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. God bless you.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm
Perfect
still
gift
shocked that people care about it at the level they have.
Shouldn't be. You are our science explainer in chief, and so explain what you see on that video.
Well, so people, I think, have conflated the concept of a UFO with whether we're visited by aliens. UFO means unidentified, flying object. Okay? This is a highly non-specific term.
Yeah.
It is so non-specific, it admits you don't know what you're looking at.
But what's driving that thing, if not a space alien?
It's unidentified.
Okay.
So
That's not good enough.
well, so the universe brims with mysteries. And so just because you don't know what it is you're looking at doesn't mean it's intelligent aliens visiting from another planet.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're looking at. And since they don't know what they're looking at, they just made it a joke, or they just made it fodder for entertainment. So when it's brought up in any other realm, we don't take it seriously. That is by design. Like I said, they did the same thing to you. They not only made minstrel shows about black people, they did minstrel shows about Native Americans. You ever really studied Native American culture? How deep it is? Real Hispanic culture before Hispania invaded them? Quetzalcoatl and all of them, it is deep. But when you watch movies, you just think feather and rain dancing and making funny sounds and living off the buffalo. See how they downsize everything because they know they sitting in a space that they don't belong in. But anyway, I want you to see this video. This is the last thing that we're going to close out with. This is a video of some of the sightings. It's cut out of a longer video that we made on Nationtown TV about a year ago. But it shows, remember what I showed you of my sighting on the night of the 4th of July. But there were hundreds of other sightings all over the world. And the Nation of Islam research team caught it and made a beautiful video about it that also included excerpts from the Criterion from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But before I get out of here, I got to point out that even though we're talking about the wheel and what the enemy calls UFOs, at the end of the day, it still comes down to separation. We better get out the way, people. We better get out the way. Get out the way in every way. It don't matter what you call yourself, what kind of how you dress. Oh, I'm a Muslim, or I follow the minister, I do all of this. If you right up under this devil and you allowing him to tell you what's right and what's wrong, you right there with him. You right there with him. So that's what Master Fard Muhammad is waiting on. He waiting on you to get out the way. And with that said, I'm going to close out with this video, and I'm going to greet you with the words of peace. Shout out to everybody chiming in. I see you. I see you, Sister Rose, Brother Joe, Brother Herman. All praises due to Allah, Brother Ernest. All praises due to Allah, Brother Jihad. He said, I seen the planes 3 times, once over the mosque. I saw it a couple of times too above the mosque. Let me get in a couple of these comments before I close out. Sister Rose says Ezekiel's vision of the wheel is during the Babylonian captivity, 13th year, 4th month, 5th day of the Joachim reign. The reality of the mother wheel in 1929 is the fulfillment of Ezekiel's vision. Is that fulfillment also proof that we are indeed in the mystery Babylon? Absolutely, dear sister. Because remember, in the Shiite tradition, they believe in the hidden imam being an apocalyptic figure. And he is. You read, you go through our teachings, we are in it. That's why the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad added that to our prayer when he said the day of requital or the day of judgment in which we now live. And then Willie said, one like that hovered slightly over my house earlier this year. I saw it one night and paid no attention. My neighbor called me 2 nights later and told me that my friend was watching me. He said that he had been noticing it for 2 days and nights. Wow. Wow. All praises due to Allah. So with that said, I'm going to close out with this video of the same thing. And this was all from the same night, July 4th going into July 5th, right after the Criterion. And listen to what the minister says and juxtapose that with the images that you see. I'm going to leave you as I greeted you in the words of peace. We said in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum.
That's why I asked them to show you the wheels.
Yes, sir.
Because I've also asked Allah to send them
Yes, sir.
over here
Yes, sir.
just to confirm what I've said
Yes,
today.
sir. Yes, sir.
That the man that I'm representing to you, those 2 men,
Yes.
they are the masters of the wheels.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't even look like a plane, does it?
Spacecraft.
Yes.
I don't know what this is, but whatever it is not a plane, and this is moving fast.
I'm telling you, those aren't planes.
Hey.
Oh, you got it. Yeah. UFO, you got it. You got it.
I'm recording right now. I'm recording. Look.
UFO over Southside. Hey, yo, what the fuck is that?
See how it's moving?
Nobody else looking at this? Do nobody else see this?
Getting it.
UFO! UFO motherfucking old! Get the fuck out of here! That is a UFO, y'all! Hey, what? Hey, we don't have shit that stop in mid-air! We don't have shit that stop in mid-air!
UFO. It's still there. It is not a helicopter. Helicopters don't maneuver like that. Now it's going back up. Look it, it's going back up.
When I close down in the garden,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
the God will do some work.
Yes, sir.
Not no.
I was told to deliver this message.